Hey y'all, it is Kat from Kat Southern Charms. We are back for another video, and today we're going to do a Petri effect versus a bloom. So many people are getting those techniques confused. So I decided I was gonna do a video to show you step by step how to do each one. And today we're using a different resin. If you're in the beginners resin group, you know there's a giveaway for that Resiners air purifier. Well, this is their resin. I got a really good deal on Amazon and I figured I would try it. And let me tell you, one thing I do like, I like the way the bottle is shaped. And on the side, it tells you how much is left in the bottle, so there's no guesswork. But it also comes with a pour spout. You know how it drips down the front of your bottles? This prevents that. So that's a plus for them. And we're gonna try their resin. And I'm mixing it up right now. I thought it was thicker than this. It's not as thick as I thought. So if this doesn't work, then I'll film a different video with a thicker resin. But let's see how this does. So what I'm gonna do first is I've mixed up 6 fluid ounces, or 6 and 6, 6 part A, 6 part B. I used my scale on fluid ounce, which is the same as volume, because you know you mix resin by volume, not by weight, because the 2 parts weigh different. One weighs more than the other. So all I'm doing, I'm scraping my sides and the bottom. I'm gonna scrape my stick, because you don't want any weak spots. You wanna make sure everything is incorporated when you're mixing your resin. Because if you get a piece or a part of your resin that's not combined completely, you're gonna have a weak spot in your project. That's not gonna cure right. So you'll see me when I'm mixing, I'm scraping down the sides and the bottom. And I do this a few times while I'm mixing. Now, let me tell you, you don't have to mix for a certain amount of time. What you're looking for is there's no streaks left in your resin. It is perfectly clear. There's a few bubbles, but they'll work themselves out. I'm not worried about that. Now, let's talk about the bloom first, okay? The bloom, we use alcohol inks. We drop in our resin. We're gonna pour our resin in first. Then we're gonna drop our alcohol inks, and we're gonna let them dance and do their thing. While in a separate container, we're gonna set aside some for white. Now I'm gonna do this 2 ways, because as we know, Julie is the bloom queen, pouring your heart out. If you don't know who Julie is, shout out to Julie. When she started, she used Pinata and Let's Resin Sinker White. And what are these alcohol inks that she used? It's an alcohol ink that has a little bit of paste in it that causes it to sink. That's what causes the blooming effect. Now, a lot of people are using straight white paste. So I'm gonna do 2 different blooms. We're gonna do one with just the Pinata, and we're gonna do one with paste, and we're gonna see how they work out. Now, when you mix your white for this that you're gonna set aside, you want it to be the consistency of 2% milk. So let me just, I'll pour it in here. I'm just gonna pour, I'm just gonna pour an ounce in each of these, not very much. Doesn't take a lot. All right, so that is 1 ounce. I'm gonna pour another one here. Da, 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 da. That is an ounce. All right, so that's gonna be for our white. Now, I'll mix the white in there in just a minute, but let's pour our resin in our mold. And I'm not gonna fill it all the way up because I'm gonna wanna put a backing on this. All right, so that's good for that. Now, push this over here. Let me move this out of the way. We don't need it anymore. Okay. Set that to the side. Now I'm gonna pour these for the Petri. And I'm just gonna let them sit while we do this bloom real quick. I'm just gonna pour some of these. Okay. Pour some in our little hearts. We're gonna make a few while we're here. All right, so the rest of this, I'm just gonna set to the side. I don't need it right now. So let's do our blooms. Well, I'm flipping sticks everywhere. All right, so let's do our white while this sits just a minute. I'm gonna use the paste. Now, when I use my paste, I stir it up because sometimes it can get separated. So before I use it, and I'm telling you, this is like gonna be way too much, I'm really gonna wipe off my stick because we're only doing this in a small amount. Okay, so I'm gonna mix this up and actually all right, so I'm gonna wipe this off and I'm gonna set it to the side because I don't want a lot of paste because paste is heavy like a brick. And that's the great thing about paste is if you're making a geode or if you're making, I'm gonna use this stick and show you what I mean. All right, see how this is like 2% milk clarity? Maybe a little bit darker, and that's fine, but that's that one. And we're gonna let this sit and heat up. And that usually takes about 45 minutes to heat up. So we're just gonna let it sit. I'm gonna add my Pinata to this one. I'm gonna do, ooh, okay, we're gonna do that much. I did not expect it to squirt like that. So I'm gonna mix this. Usually 5 or 6 drops is what I put in. I wanna check. See, this is like a milky, 2% milk, but you know, like watered down milk. That's this consistency. Same thing. We're gonna set this to the side because it's gotta heat up, and then we'll put it in a piping bag so it's easier. So we'll let that sit because that's gonna set about 45 minutes. And in the meantime, we can do this part of it. And I picked up my colors. I am using Let's Resin alcohol inks. They are super vibrant. I love the way they spread. We're using peachy red. We're gonna use dark orchid. And we're gonna use aqua. Now, I wanna put, let's put our darker colors on the outside. I'm just gonna go around, drop it in. You see how it's spreading? I really love their inks. Beautiful colors. Okay, I'm just gonna set that there. Let's do our aqua. Boy, it's spilling in fast, isn't it? And now, let's do some red in the center, okay? We're gonna do the same thing over here. Do purple outside. Julie uses these alcohol inks too, but she's also used Octopus. They're really good. Pinata has great ones. But I really like Let's Resin because they really are vibrant and hold their color. I don't have as much problem with them fading. Okay, now let's put our beautiful in the center. And now this is gonna set. You see how it's moving and dancing around, doing its little thing? That's what we want it to do, okay? This is gonna set and do its thing for the 45 minutes that it takes for these to heat up, because these should be 33 degrees Celsius or about 93, and right now it's 91. So about 93 degrees Fahrenheit if you're in America, about 33 degrees Celsius if you're, you know, in Australia or you use that other system. But now let's talk about our Petri effect, okay? This is the difference between blooms and Petri. What did I do with it? There it is. Okay, for your blooms, you saw how we did that. We put the white ink in some resin that we set aside, and that has to heat up. That's for the bloom, okay? Now for Petri effect, we put our alcohol inks in, and we immediately put a drop of white sinker, either the Pinata or Let's Resin sinker, right on top of that. This does not go in the resin for the Petri effect. It goes straight from the bottle on top of your alcohol inks. We have to let this sit too for 45 minutes and then come back and we do our swirls, just like we come back and pipe our, I say spaghetti noodles, because that's about the thickness that it should be. But let's put our inks in. I'm gonna put one. I'm gonna do blue up here, and then I'm gonna do this beautiful pink or peachy red in the center. I'm gonna add another purple, another blue, and any open areas just fill in. Okay, and I want to do another here, there, and now I'm going to put one drop of this white for each drop of there. I'm not going to overdo it. I'm just going to do, see how quickly it spreads. So I just did 4 drops in that. We're going to let it do its thing too. And then I'm going to go, let's just do purple and peachy red in this one. And in these guys, I do not use alcohol to pop bubbles, because spritzing or misting alcohol on these changes the effect, and you don't want to do that, okay? Just like this, I'm not spraying alcohol on this because it'll affect the way that the alcohol inks and the resin are interacting, and I don't want to mess that up. I want that interaction like it is. See, right now I can go in and add some more to the outside there, and I'm going to do the same thing here because we're testing these. Remember, we're doing one with the alcohol ink, one with the paste. So I want to do exactly the same on each so we get a true test for these. All right, now I'm going to leave that alone. Now let's do the aqua and the peachy red in the heart. Oop, I missed there. Okay. Now, and you know, blue red make purple. So we're gonna see what happens. Okay, I'm gonna leave that. Now I wanna show you something here. You can go back and do a second layer in your Petri effect. So let's do another layer, another round of ink and another round of our white. Remember, 1 drop, and this spreads really quick. So there we go. There. And now I'm just gonna let it sit, okay? We're done with that. Okay, so now what we need to do, we need to wait 45 minutes. That gives us time to stop dancing and moving around, this to heat up. Let's see where we're at, 91. Let's see where we're at now. Ooh. Is that heating up? That can't be right. Wow, okay. So maybe we're not waiting. This resin is heating up rather quickly. That's interesting. It says it's 98. I don't know if I believe that because it doesn't feel warm. Maybe a little. All right, so I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do. I have a piping bag and I cut the top off. It's just a regular cake decorating bag. And I put it over the edge because, let me move the inks out of the way and then I'll show you. Move our inks. Okay. I'm gonna have a free hand so I can use my stick to scrape every little bit into this. Wow, y'all, I can't believe that heat up that fast. I was not expecting that. So maybe that's something different with this resin. Because usually I let this sit about 45 minutes. Okay, so that is one. And the other, I think, I'm just gonna do dots. Well, no, because we're trying this, so we're gonna do the same thing. Okay, and you know what? I don't remember. Oh, where's my napkin? I'm gonna put that there. I think I cut this a little too short. Y'all, I'm gonna have to look back on the video. All right, this is a hot mess. Okay. Wow. Wow, y'all. It's like Monday, not a Saturday. All right. Oof. All right. 1, 2. All right. So we're gonna make. Oh, this is not good. Let me do this because this is a mess. All right, y'all. Okay, so we're gonna pipe this on, and it should be the thickness of like a spaghetti noodle. Lord have mercy. This is not gonna cooperate, I see. Well, we have 2 lines going at once. Imagine that. This is gonna be fun. All right, so I'm leaving some blobs on purpose because I want you to see. Wow, y'all. Okay, that was a fail. Let me Let me change gloves. All right. Throw this away. That is a hot mess. And I always keep a trash can next to me. But if you have blobs, like this is a blob, you just want to stretch it out so it's the same thickness, okay? So you're just going to stretch it out so you don't have a blob there. It's going to sink to the bottom. So just stretch it out so it's the thickness of like a spaghetti noodle. All right. Now, y'all. Okay, so now you see what happens. We all make mistakes. What does our friend say? There's no mistakes in art. There's happy little accidents. So, I'm gonna add some more. And I'm just gonna make little flower petals, or attempt to, because this looks like it's gonna be difficult tonight. Okay, we're just gonna draw those around. And I think, y'all, alright, we're just gonna see. We're just gonna go with it and see what happens. Right? That's all we can do. Okay, so I'm gonna finish this off. What a mess. Now, okay, what do you think, peoples? Are we gonna have a success? Because I'm pretty doubtful right now. And all right, I'm gonna let that sit. Now I'm going to, you know what? I'm gonna do what Julie does, and I'm just gonna pinch my cup, and we're just gonna pour. Like that, with a little spout. I bet this one turns out better than that other one. What do you think? Okay, I'm gonna go back in. We're gonna add some more. Gonna pour some in the center. All right, and that's all. We're gonna let that be. Okay, so I told you, I don't use alcohol on these. I'm gonna use a long lighter. I don't really see any bubbles, which is pretty awesome for this resin. Okay, so now we need to draw our lines. And where is my silicone tool hiding? That's all right. I want to use my stick. Found it. I have these tools that when I did nails, I have silicone tip tools that I use. They won't scratch your mold, So I highly suggest getting some. They don't have to be expensive. Just make sure it's a silicone tip, and they come in different little tips. Some are pointed, you know, so just keep that in mind. We have our paper towel because now we're gonna draw our petals. And I will tell you how I do mine. I have OCD. I like going by a clock. So I start from the outside at 12 o'clock and I'm gonna pull slowly to the inside. I'm not touching completely at the bottom of the mold. I'm going about 3/4 of the way down. So I go from 12 to 3 to 6 to 9, and then I go back and I split. See, there's 4 petals there now, so I go back and I split that. So about 1 o'clock, about 4, about 7, about 10, and then I'm gonna go from the inside out for each of the petals that are there now. So there's that. I'm gonna do that for each of these, and that makes our Pretty Bloom. And I can tell you right now, this resin is not as thick as I thought it would be, but we're gonna see how this turns out. And then if I don't like how this works, I'll just redo it with a different resin. Okay, so we're done with that. Now the last thing to do is I go in my center and I swirl the center. Okay, and that one's done. It just needs to cure. So let's do the same thing here. Remember, we're doing the clock. 12 o'clock, 3, 6, 9, and then I go back 1, 4, about 7, and then 10. And now we're gonna go inside to out, okay? Beautiful. And we're just bringing some of that middle color back through the petals to the outside. Oh goodness. If y'all hear the TV, my bad. I can't stop this now, but hopefully you won't hear that much of it. It's not that loud. Okay, so we have all that drawn. We're gonna swirl, and that's it. Now we just let it cure. Done. We'll see how that works out. Now I'm gonna test this. I'm actually gonna test it with this. I wanna see, it's thickened up some. I'm gonna go ahead and do this part while we're here. So, ideally you let these sit 35, 40, 45 minutes to allow that to thicken up. And then you come back, and I'm using a toothpick. You don't have to use a toothpick. You can use a silicone point, but you're just gonna do your swirls or whatever design you want in here. So for this, we're gonna start outside and swirl in. Pull it up slowly. Wipe it on a paper towel. We're gonna do the same thing here. Start outside and swirl in. Okay? We'll do the same here. There we go with that. Now, here too. Listen, they're applauding. They like it. Alright. Here, we're just gonna do a heart and swirl. This is the last one. Swirl. Okay. Now we let these set and cure. So I will be back. Just a minute. Hey y'all, we're back. Everything is cured up. let's start. I had some leftovers, so I mixed this malachite. It's called shining malachite. These are not my good shears, but I use a good pair of fabric shears. You see all this extra? And it just cuts right off. These are not my good ones, but you can see and imagine if they're good fabric shears, it really knocks this out easy. And then you don't have to worry about sanding and all that. It takes your sharp edge. But let's look. That's cute, y'all. And that's just leftovers. I mixed some of the shining malachite mica powder in, and I had some leftover white, and I just swirled that in. So super cute. Bonus piece. Set that to the side because we really want to talk about these. Now, remember we did 2 experiments. We used just the Pinata alcohol ink, which is alcohol ink with a little paste in it, on this one. And on this one, we used paste, which is heavier. So there's the difference from the back side. This is the alcohol ink. This is the paste. And when we mixed it in our resin, remember we made both the consistency of 2% milk. So let's start with our alcohol. Well, let's start with the paste first, and we'll see what we have. All right, ready? Here we go. Ooh, ouch. Paste is heavy, and it sinks, and it stays where you want it. So that is the problem with just using paste by itself. You've got to be very, very careful. So there you go, there's that one. We poured that, remember we pinched the cup and poured, and it was a little thicker than spaghetti noodles. If you're going to use paste directly, I would make the super thin lines, and then it might work out okay. But that's paste. Let's look at the alcohol ink and see how that did. And y'all, let me say, this is the Resiner's resin, and I'm looking through. I don't see any bubbles in the clear areas. It's super clear. See that? No bubbles. So I'm kind of impressed with that. That's a score. All right, let's check our alcohol ink one. Are you ready? Here we go. That is much better. We do have some blobbing because remember we had the blowout. That's the best way to call it, with a piping bag. But this looks much better than the paste. And I'll tell you that Julie from Pouring Your Heart Out, this was one of her, when she started, or when I started following her years ago, this is what she was using for her blooms. And you can see why. And now she's created her own. So if y'all want to grab hers, it's called Bloom. So there you go. There's the alcohol ink. Now, that takes care of our blooms. Let's check out our Petri. And I'm going to give you a very simple way to remember what to do with your alcohol ink, because a lot of people are getting these steps confused. They tried pouring this directly into the bloom instead of mixing it with resin, and they weren't sure what to do with this. So let's start with these. This one, remember we did the dark orchid, the, oh my gosh, the red, I don't remember what it's called. And then we did the aqua. Yes, aqua. And I don't know where my other one went to. Anyway, So we put all 3 of these colors in, and we did 2. Remember, we put them in, and then we put the white in, and then we did another round. And you can see, look from the side, you see the spores? But we did have some drop too far. That's what left that on the front. But that is a Petri effect, and you can see the spores from the side. All right, so that's one. Let's check our other, and we did the same thing. We did 2 in this. Again, we had some drop too far, but there's that. You can see from the side again, and you see the swirl. All right, let's check our round ones. This one we only did purple and the peachy red, and we only did 1 round. Still had some drop too much. But again, remember, I didn't really let this sit 45 minutes either. You know it's ready to swirl when you put your toothpick in and you pull it up, and it's like a taffy. You know how when you pull on taffy it stays? Well, when you put a toothpick in and you pull it up and the strand stays up before it sinks back in the resin, you know it's ready to swirl it then. These we did a little early. There's another. Again, we had some sink too far, but you can see the spores. You can see the design. All right, so let's check our hearts. The hearts, we did the aqua and the like hot pink is what I'm calling it. Ooh, that one's pretty. You can really see the swirl there. And from the side, beautiful. Let's check our last one. And we have a little extra. I'm just gonna break off there. Again, look at that one. Beautiful, huh? Put it here so you can see it better. You can really see the swirl in that one. That turned out good. Still have a little bit that dropped too far. If you look from the side, you see the spores. So there you go. Beautiful. Okay. So that's the difference of Petri and Bloom. And this is a trick for me that I'm going to share with you to help me remember. For the Petri effect, you put the ink directly in your project. So Petri, put it in. For your Bloom effect, you blend. Blend this in with resin. So blend, mix it in resin. Put it directly over your alcohol inks. So I hope that little trick helps you remember what to do for each desired technique. And y'all, that kind of sums up this video. We have our Petri pieces and we have our blooms. So, did you learn anything today? Leave me a comment below. What is 2 takeaways you learned from this video that you didn't know going in? Did the little P and B saying help you? P for Petri, put it directly in. B for Bloom, blend it in resin. Is that gonna help you remember going forward? I hope so. But y'all, that's gonna wrap up this video today. Make sure you do all the YouTube-y things because we have some really fun stuff coming up that you don't want to miss out on. So until next time, happy arting. Ta-ta for now.